You never quite know what to expect when you head out for a day of boating, kind of like this crew of three found out just about a week ago off the coast of Madison County, Florida. The crew of three went out for an evening of fishing when all of a sudden once they got offshore, they wound up running into a storm with 40-mile-an-hour winds and 10+ foot waves. Unfortunately for this crew, they couldn't get back in, decided to toss anchor and ride it out, but when they tried to restart their boat after the storm passed, the vessel wouldn't start and wound up stranded offshore for over 24 hours. Fortunately, one of their text messages finally went through to a family member and they were able to contact the Coast Guard and get help out to them. Just another one of those exciting stories we'll see on this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us to Charleston, South Carolina, where this was the scene actually exactly 1 week ago when the MSC box ship Michigan was departing the North Charleston terminal when all of a sudden the vessel wound up losing control of its main engine and wound up accelerating to 17 knots with no ability to stop.
Hog Island Reach. Runaway ship. Everybody interested? Any interested parties? Please stay clear.
The vessel suffered a failure of its propulsion control system. Charleston officials quickly jumped into action, initiating a closure of the Arthur Ravenel Bridge for a safety precaution and letting other boats get out in front of the vessel to try and warn boaters to get out of the way until the vessel could become stopped. Fortunately, the pilot on board the Michigan was somehow able to successfully navigate the vessel through the harbor and out the channel even at the high rate of speed. Once offshore, they were able to kill the motors and anchor the boat until it could be boarded for inspection. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to Taiwan, where this was the scene just a few days ago as the cargo vessel Tong Yum was departing port when all of a sudden the vessel wound up having to make an emergency starboard turn to avoid other traffic in the harbor, forcing the vessel to make it a little too close to a stanchion on the starboard side, as can be seen in these images here. The vessel winds up colliding with the concrete stanchion on the starboard side of the vessel, ripping a massive hole in the hull of the ship. These images show the actual damage after the incident, and here you can see a rather large hole in the side of the hull. Now, fortunately, the vessel did stay afloat and actually didn't show any signs of actually sinking, as the damage just appeared to be to the exterior and did not actually puncture any of the tanks. The vessel did contact the Port Authority and request emergency permission to come back into port to dock. The vessel did wind up returning to dock so damage could be assessed. Oil booms were deployed around the vessel just in case to make sure there were no environmental concerns. Fortunately, in this situation, no injuries were reported, and the vessel remains at port until the repairs can be made. Our next story to make the boating news this week will take us back to South Carolina, as this was the scene approximately 75 miles off the coast of Myrtle Beach just a little over a week ago when a 28-foot vessel issued a distress signal to the Coast Guard, alerting them that one of their divers never resurfaced from the dive they had just finished. The Coast Guard quickly launched an air and sea search mission for the diver. The search mission was severely hindered by weather. As you can see in these images here, seas at the time were projected to be 8 to 10 foot. Fortunately, the Coast Guard Air Station Savannah aircraft wound up spotting the diver's yellow marker buoy on the last leg of their search sector, and they were able to launch their rescue swimmer and get the diver pulled to safety. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us up to Martha's Vineyard, where this was the scene just a few days ago as well, when two boaters decided to go out for a nice evening of boating when all of a sudden they claimed they made a navigational error and wound up with their boat beached as seen here. When local authorities arrived, they claimed the captain showed some signs of impairment and a field sobriety test was given, and due to the results of that test, the captain was actually placed under arrest and being charged with boating under the influence. The captain did have his pre-trial in court the following Monday where he actually pleaded not guilty to that charge, but I don't know on this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts. I mean, a navigational error is hitting a sandbar. This guy wound up hitting the whole island. Thanks for watching, crew. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Boating News of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out in your waterways, be sure to hit us up on Facebook or Instagram and let us know when you might see your stories over here. Just like Jenny Smith, Vincent Lanacki, Adam Coolidge, and Gary Priest did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.